around here hosting meetings in about a year, so who knows the new rules. But the East European Studies subcompartment of the European Studies or operation here is hosting this, just to make clear. I used to head the East European Studies program for about 10 years, and before that worked in the Congress. And we are welcome today Ambassador Davor Božinović. I think many of you know him quite well in his background, but if you don't, I'll give you a little bit of, oh no, now we have a shortage of seats. Whoever knows around here, you see, look at this. So before he begins, and he'll, be talking about many different things, but it's assuming responsibility for the future of Southeast Europe. Somebody has to do it, and they're in NATO, and let's hope somebody does, because the way the United States is going, you can't count on us for much, I'll tell you. We're going to be lucky if we have a Navy by the time we're finished in the next 3 years banging each other over the heads politically. Anyway, to be serious and to get this thing going, Ambassador Božinović is the State Secretary for Political Affairs and Special Envoy of the Croatian Prime Minister for East European Affairs. And he completed his studies in political science at the University of Zagreb, getting all 3 degrees, a BA, MA, and PhD, with a focus on international relations and national security. He's had a distinguished diplomatic career as well. They include being State Secretary for European Integration. I'm probably glad you're not doing that now, huh? So it's better before or whatever. And then Ambassador of the Republic of Croatia to NATO, Ambassador to Serbia and Montenegro, another position which must have been a little difficult, still is, and Chief of Staff to the President of the Republic of Croatia. He's also published many works in the field of international relations, as well as 2 books. Mutual Transition, NATO, EU, and SEE, and NATO and Euro-Atlantic Integration. He's a co-author, and he frequently lectures at the Faculty of Political Science at the University of Zagreb and at the Diplomatic Academy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and European Integration of Croatia. In other words, we would say that you're the perfect Wilson Center person, a man of action and policy whose work is also informed by academia. That's what we try to produce here, and we do. The only problem is their academic work is very rarely makes an impact on the policy world, and we're trying to get those State Department type people to read these kinds of things, but you may have the same difficulty there. We like to think, some of us that had the State Department read a few of our works on the Balkans, maybe we could have done that a little quicker, at least. Maybe not better. But anyway, thank you for your attention. And now Ambassador Božinović has the floor. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schlesinger. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind introductory words. I will, as it is agreed, give us kind of presentation in 15-20 minutes, and after that I'm open for all questions you might have. It's a really honor and pleasure to be here at the distinguished Woodrow Wilson International Center and to have this opportunity to engage in a discussion about history, peace, progress, and the impact of all 3 on the future of Southeast Europe. Let me begin with the premise that for those of us who live in Southeast Europe, there is no better option for us or for international community, for that matter, than to ensure that Southeast Europe becomes a part of Euro-Atlantic mainstream. I come from a region that has in many ways marked international relations over the last 2 decades. It is a region in which, because of the politics of aggression of Slobodan Milosevic, we witnessed the first outbreak of war on the European continent after the Second World War. A region which, just like USSR and Czechoslovakia, demonstrated the unviability of federal model based on communist matrix and dominance by the largest ethnic group, a region which underscored the need to maintain the North Atlantic Treaty Organization beyond the end of the Cold War, a region in which NATO engaged in its first out-of-area combat operation in its history, a region which demonstrated to European strategists the deficiencies of the common foreign and security policy and prompted the creation of European security and defense policy, a region which witnessed some of the most horrific war crimes, destruction of cities, and mass execution. Today, this same region, while in a much better place, still finds itself at a crossroads. Although ready to assume responsibility for its future, it cannot do it alone. Progress has been made in all of the countries of the region, but most notable is the progress in bilateral and regional cooperation. Some may still perceive the region as one which is reluctant to pursue various forms of cooperation, but the reality is that a long list of concrete examples proves precisely the opposite. Some of these examples include well-developed economic cooperation within the Central European Free Trade Area, the development of common transport and energy initiatives in Southeast Europe, cooperation within Euro-Atlantic integration process, a constructive approach to solving open issues, tackling security issues within RECVIAC, which is Regional Center for Security Cooperation based in Zagreb. But however, we have moved even further. As a natural continuation of all the aspects of cooperation established so far, we have signed a number of agreements on defense and police cooperation, thus taking significant steps towards realizing the idea of a stable and secure community in Southeast Europe. What is most important is that behind all of these initiatives stands a strong political will of the countries themselves to open a new chapter in mutual relations which cannot be linked exclusively to the Euro-Atlantic integration process. If we were to view the agreement reached recently between Croatia and Slovenia only through this prism, it would not have induced all the positive developments that have followed. Through a number of initiatives, such as the Brdo process, we have created a framework in which to foster regional cooperation as well as to facilitate the integration process of each respective country. In doing so, we are inevitably increasing the credibility of the region as a whole. We hope that this will also help create an environment conducive to resolving the remaining open issues and challenges. The approach that Croatia has taken towards its neighbors has been consistent and straightforward. Our role in advocating and promoting the spirit of cooperation and mutual understanding, as well as providing tangible assistance to our neighbors, is also mirrored in the dedication of Croatian President Josipovic and Prime Minister Kosor to strengthen efforts that will take Southeast Europe into a new era. What we are witnessing now in the region can be compared to a domino effect of such an approach. We are witnessing that the region is leaving old patterns behind. And we are witnessing that the region is increasingly assuming its share of responsibility for embedding the values the European Union and NATO have been built upon. The recent visit of President of Serbia, Boris Tadic, to Vukovar in Croatia and Zagreb is a welcome step in this regard. I can claim with confidence that we are moving toward closing the full circle of reconciliation, thus embracing our common European and Euro-Atlantic future. Progress has been made, but our job has not been finished yet. There are certainly other positive trends we are eager to see in the region. Following the elections in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we hope that the new government will create a political atmosphere conducive to constitutional changes. That is precisely why we need to keep raising awareness that Southeast Europe deserves more profound consideration, heightened interest, and the active engagement of the international community. I would even say that this is an imperative if we want to ensure that the region opts for the right choices in the times to come, that it endures the painful reforms and finally leaves the waiting room it has found itself in. Turning this scenario into reality requires cooperation and encouragement from us all. In this regard, Croatia, a NATO member on the threshold of EU membership, a former non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, certainly represents added value for more than one reason. A country that has undergone significant transformation from hosting foreign peacekeeping forces on its territory to one that is a global security provider taking part in 14 UN, NATO, and EU peace support operations, a country that went from being a recipient of foreign aid to a donor nation, and a country that has invested tremendous effort in getting its own house in order by implementing demanding reforms, including tackling organized crime and corruption. As a neighboring country and as a success story in the region, we have valuable expertise about the region and unique experience in both the EU and NATO integration processes. It is precisely the EU and NATO that have served as a catalyst for changes across the European continent over the past 60 years. The positive influence of NATO and the EU must continue. Southeast Europe deserves nothing less. So let us join forces and spare no effort in supporting the countries of the region as they work towards becoming future partners in the Euro-Atlantic community of nations. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Would anyone like to lead off with the questions, or should I do something question-wise? Ask an inappropriate question? Maybe no. Perhaps I'll start. You mentioned, because it's my favorite topic, that, we've always worried about Bosnia and we worry about Kosovo, but the real key to security in the former Yugoslav space in the Balkans is a good relationship between Croatia and Serbia. And so you mentioned the mutual visits with President Josipovic going to Belgrade and Tadic going to Vukovar, maybe other places as well on an earlier trip. I'd like you to just assess, where these are going, what future steps may be envisaged to sort of build on this forgiveness now and trying to move on from the spirit of the early 90s.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. I think this kind of visits between statesmen are very important because they are of symbolic importance, but also they create a kind of new atmosphere which is needed in the region. If you have, for example, 3 or 4 meetings between Croatian and Serbian president this year, it sends a clear signal to all other state institutions, to business community, which is most important to common people, that there is a clear political will that the period of 90s we want to put behind us. And there is a time for cooperation, for reconciliation, for common economic projects, because you know that the region we are talking about once was a part of the same federation, Yugoslav Federation, and our economies, economies of newly independent states, as compatible, and to get, let's say, jobs on today's world market. There is no way each of those countries to be attractive partner, especially when we are talking about broader European market, but also Middle East, which is neighboring area to us, but also Mediterranean area, Northern Africa. We all have good experience in cooperating with this parts of world, and that's the reason that we want and we have to cooperate in economic terms. Politically, we through this kind of cooperation, the next step you mentioned is, of course, cooperation between governments, which already exist in solving open issues, but also in building our cooperation, overall cooperation on the higher level, because through this kind of behavior, we are sending, all of us, sending a message to the Europe that we are mature enough to be part of this elite regional club. Croatia is close to finish its integration ambitions. We already became member of NATO, and next year we will certainly complete our process of negotiations to become full-fledged member of the European Union. So we could say that Croatia fulfilled its strategic national goals. But to be frank, our integration process will complete only when all other countries from our region will do the same, because this is a logic of European Union as it sounds. It is not enough. It hasn't been enough only Germany and France to become members of the European Union. They need it. Danish, they needed Swedish, they needed even Romania, Bulgaria, and they of course need this last part of Europe, which is still not integrated in, to become a member of the club. So, following this logic, it is our strategic interest to have Serbia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kosovo, Macedonia, Montenegro to follow us as soon as possible. And this is a message that I wished to convey today to you, that it is our strategic interest when become members of the European Union, as we already behave as a newly NATO member, to help all other countries to fulfill their criteria for integration. All these criteria are much more stronger than before. All countries that are now at the front door of the Euro-Atlantic integration has to pass much more difficult processes of accommodating their internal legal system, society, and so on. So we see as our strategic task tomorrow as an EU member, as today as a NATO member, to help all of them to finish this school as soon as possible.
Thank you. Other questions? Please proceed with by identifying yourself. Thank you. Oh, and then you.
Brian Beery, write for Europolitics, European Affairs newspaper. You mentioned the EU at the end, and I believe that your government's current goal is to finish up talks the first half of next year, but I've heard people saying now that it might be a little bit delayed. I'm just wondering what your latest view is on when the negotiations will conclude. And one other related point, I know in recent days there's the former Croatian Prime Minister has been taken into custody in Austria, and there's a thing going on with the Austrian and Croatian governments. I'm just wondering if you think that is going to impact the negotiations at all.
Thank you. Yes, it is our goal and to complete negotiations during the Hungarian presidency, which means until the end of the first part of 2011. And we could say that we will be ready to do this. But, you know, there is always need two for tango. I think, according all our informations, in let's say in next week, we will probably closed 3 additional chapters. You know, that process of negotiations with the EU is going, that you have to open and close 33 chapters. 35 is actually, but 33 are negotiable, which cover all life, let's say, from energy to policy, security, economy, currency, taxes, everything is included in these chapters. So far, Croatia opened, which means fulfilled criteria for opening all chapters. We opened all chapters and closed 25. Next week it will be 28, and all other job is undergone. So it will leave only 5 chapters for next year. We estimated that we are ready, at least now. You know, that there is always a need also for European Union side, because you have to, the Commission, which is negotiate on behalf of EU member states, had to accommodate position of 27, but it always takes time. But Croatia is now ready to close 31 chapter. So it means that at the beginning of 2011 we will finish additional 3, and it will remain probably for the spring 2 chapters. One is dealing with competition, which means in Croatia terms destiny or restructuring of Croatian shipyards, which is let's say not easy question for us, but we will solve it. And the other is judiciary, chapter 23, which is dealing with judiciary and fundamental rights. You know that after some experience from last circles of enlargement, European Union, let's say, strengthened criteria or requirements for these chapters. And in a way, I could connect this chapter with your second question and say that that's true, that former Croatian Prime Minister was arrested in Austria on warrant issued by Croatian authorities. And I think we could say that in this process, everything was going according Croatian laws. No one's human rights or other rights were breached. And I think even this, and I'm sure that even this event, what happened, clearly showed that Croatia is qualified to act as and to become EU member states, because everything what we are doing according EU laws, Croatian laws, and with accordance highest European standards.
Milan.
I'm Milan Mišić, Washington correspondent of Politica newspaper from Belgrade. Odlično, gospodin ambassador. It's nice to hear that relations between Croatia and Serbia are advancing in all fronts. But which of the open issues you consider the most pressing, considering your accession to the EU? Is that perhaps one of that the border problem, which, as far as I know, is not formally settled?
So there is a open issue regarding our borders, but I don't think so that it is the issue that might have impact on Croatian or tomorrow's Serbian EU accession. We have regular meetings between our state commissions. I know something about this because I'm leading Croatian part of State Border Commission, and Mr. Ponoš is my counterpart from Serbian side. I'm sure that we will continue to have frank, open, and discussion which is based on international law, and we will find solution one way or another, but our solution will be negotiated solution and law-based solution. And this issue shouldn't be seen as a disturbing, let's say, issue between two countries, because the fact is that our cross-border cooperation, which include this disputed area, is going well. Our two presidents promoted a new river line which connected some sites on both sides in Croatia and Serbia. We have a small border cooperation agreement. Our police forces are cooperating well. They help each other to establish law and security in this area. So I don't see. Of course, we have to continue to work on this issue, but it is not, as I said, disturbing issue between two countries.
Just a follow-up. Would you just mention a few of other open issues between Croatia and Serbia at the moment?
What is important to know, especially for our friends which are not part of our region, probably the all, I could say all open issues that we have between us are issues which derivative from the period of dissolution of former Yugoslavia, which is important. That there is no, let's say, historical open issues or historical burdens between two countries. There are some open issues which are going to deal with succession of former Yugoslavia, property, bank accounts, and so on. Presidents Tadic and Josipovic declared last month that two countries politically solved one of the important open issues, which is related to refugees that are outcome of the wars in 90s. So on political level, we found a solution, and of course we count on international generosity, because there is a plan to organize the International Donors Conference to help to find a solution for all those who are still in need to solve their housings and other issues. There, as you well known, there is also a fact that two countries sued each other on the International Court of Justice, also because of the events of 90s, and for Croatia, but also for Serbia, one of the most sensitive issues is, of course, destiny of still missing persons, which we are trying to find destiny of those people, and of course it is sensitive because they have their families, relatives, and so on. But maybe now it is it could sound more important what I said at the beginning, that we are in process of reconciliation, in creating a new atmosphere. There is a rising trust between political elite and between common citizens, and there is shared interest of both countries to become members of the European Union. And I think we are acting in the right way, and it will help all of us, because we now have a regular, intensive political dialogue, not only on presidents or prime ministers level, but also on lower levels in both administration. And I am sure if we continue to act in such a way, and we will continue to act in such a way, we will find a solution for most of these issues, and then the rest will be solved by its own. Hvala vam.
Another question? Yes, please.
Thank you very much for this interesting presentation. Ondina Blokar, Embassy of Slovenia. So I shall not dwell on border issues, but I'd like to hear your opinion on what is going on in Bosnia and Kosovo. Bosnia had elections 2 months ago, and I'd like to ask, how do you see the progress and the future that is awaiting them? Because I understand that administration here in the U.S. is quite optimistic about it and how this new presidency is doing. And yesterday there were elections held in Kosovo, and I'd like to hear your opinion on how do you see Kosovo and its progress, let's say, towards the European Union, and most of all the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia. Thank you.
Thank you. Why don't to mention that we solved a border issue in yeah. I think it showed not only to our respective public, but also to the wider region and to the European Union, that two countries could solve the very sensitive issue in a more European way than some EU member states solved or are still pending to solve their border issue. Bosnia-Herzegovina is important, and I could say that it is probably not so diplomatically to say that some country is more or less important to your country, but for Croatia it is inevitable to say that Bosnia-Herzegovina is probably one of the most important countries for us because we are sharing the same border with Bosnia-Herzegovina more than 1,100 kilometers. And in Bosnia-Herzegovina we have our compatriots, also Mr. Mišić has his own compatriots, and there are 3 large ethnic groups in Bosnia-Herzegovina. I think the elections passed really in a democratic atmosphere, and probably this is the reason for optimism. Now Bosnia-Herzegovina is in process of creating a government, and we hope in Croatia that the government will be created as soon as possible, and a government that will represent all important national groups in a proper way, and to be able to tackle with serious issues like constitutional reform of Bosnia-Herzegovina and continuation towards Euro-Atlantic integrations. But as I said previously, situation in Bosnia-Herzegovina, also situation in Kosovo, and relations and dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina. Probably we will wait for some time because yesterday was elections in Kosovo, shows that the only sustainable future for our region is integration in the European Union. And as fast as all of us be able to fulfill European standards and start to implement European requirements in our internal political life and our internal legislation will show, I'm sure, that some of most sensitive or most difficult issues we are witnessing in region today will lose the importance in the years to come. So European behavior, acceptance of European Euro-Atlantic standards is the only way to cooperate and to find a solution for this region. But to be frank, it is a responsibility for all the actors from the region, but also this is a responsibility for international community and for European Union, because it is European Union backyard, and Croatia will, when we complete and become members of the EU, act as Slovenia is acting now as a member of the European Union, as an advocate of the countries from the region.
Someone else? Well, I can pop in with another one that you won't have an answer to, but I'm always interested in this. Croatia is, one of the newest members of NATO, and that's, a real step towards binding yourself to the Euro-Atlantic institutions and whatnot. But what we found out in earlier rounds of enlargement, some of the former fraternal countries of the Soviet Union who used to just go visiting neighboring countries a little bit for an occupation here and there, all of a sudden they join NATO, like Bulgarian troops and Polish troops, and next thing you know, they're seeing part of the world, like Iraq, especially unstable parts of the world. Iraq, I don't know if anybody from these countries is in Afghanistan. And I wonder what your experience has been so far. I mean, NATO is important not just as a military construct, but because it's an area where the United States gets to sit down with its key allies and many different venues throughout the world and discuss issues and try to come to some kind of so it's a political consultative mechanism. But I wonder if sometimes these military demands could be a little too much for a country in Central Europe, and whether the United States expects too much of these countries. And I'm wondering what we're asking you as a maritime nation.
Yes, we are a maritime nation, but all our troops abroad are land forces. I think I couldn't agree with you, Martin, that your government, I'm not defending anyone, but expect too much from us. We are acting as a NATO member, as I said, in 14 international operations. Only 2 of them are NATO-led missions in Afghanistan and Kosovo. Of course, they consist in more than 70% of our overall engagement, but we are also engaged in EU missions in Sudan and Bosnia, in UN missions we have on Sinai Heights, we have more than 90 soldiers. So we think that it is important for each country to contribute to world peace. And this is our strategic interest and strategic orientation, just because we were faced with wars of the 90s, and we were very pleased on that time seeing international peacekeepers to come in our country and to help to bring peace and security to our own citizens. And Croatia is, let's say, our state leadership decided, but also our parliament approved last week to increase our contribution to Afghanistan. And this is not a so sensitive issue in Croatia comparing with some other countries, just because of this experience. We have good memories on the international peacekeepers during the 90s when they came to our country, and we are proud today be in position to as much as we can to help other countries and people in rough or failed states or in some turbulent area to enjoy peace and stability. So also I think we have an experience that even we could it could present an added value of Croatian membership to NATO. For example, we still as a non-NATO member in 2004 or 2005 decided to be engaged more in training mission in Afghanistan, which was followed by other countries, and today this is a common position of all NATO member states that there is no military solution, but we have to do more to teach our Afghanistan host how to create, how to build their own institutions, including security forces, because this is the only way this kind of transformation on power to Afghan people, the only way out for all of us from that region. So maybe our experience is unique but it is based on what we really faced during the 90s, during the wars in former Yugoslavia. And as I said, today we are proud to be part of this international efforts, and we are proud that the last meeting, last summit in Lisbon passed in way it passed. I think it was a very successful summit when NATO allies agreed about new strategic concept, which means that the alliance will survive even in 21st century. There is a common interest of all us. NATO helps in a way America to have, as you said, daily coordination with its natural partners, I mean European states. It helps European states to enjoy American protection in a way. But also, you saw the summit showed even more that there is a possible cooperation between NATO states and Russia, which is very important. Russian president attended summit in Lisbon, and I think we opened a new page. NATO declared itself as an organization that is has no enemy in the world, that organization that wants to cooperate with other countries to establish more partnership comparing with today's situation. And I think this kind of interaction between states that share the same values is welcome, especially in these unsecure times.
Thank you very much for that answer. We have time for one more or so, if anybody has another one. Yeah, okay. Because otherwise I'm going to have to ask about Bill Montgomery's book, which nobody on this side of the Atlantic has seen. I'd like to get your impressions, but we'll save that for later.
Again, I'm going to ask something about borders, but not between Croatia and Serbia, but Croatia and Bosnia. Once you are in European Union, your long border with Bosnia will be something quite different than it is today. How you think you will be coping with that, considering the fact that so many Croatians are in Bosnia, used to cross the border at will, with just IDs and so on?
There are different ways how to tackle with this issue. I could say that when Slovenia entered European Union, we were happy that our first neighbor became EU member state, and I am sure that all Bosnians will be happy when Croatia become EU member. For us, nothing changed. Actually, we are passing as a cross over the Slovenia border just with ID, and certainly we will find a solution that will compromise from one side European demands, but from the other side the free travel to Croatia, not only for Croats but for all Bosniaks. It is our interest. We are the main trade partner of Bosnia-Herzegovina, and we will certainly not act against our interests.
We'll save you from Bill Montgomery's book. It's not a subject for now, but we've read heard a lot about it, but I don't know anybody who's read it. Probably State Department and other communities, but it has, having been ambassador, to Croatia and Serbia, having been Eagleburger's chief aide and in charge of assistance to Bosnia, there's no one in the State Department with more experience on the ground than he does. Oh, and then he was in Budapest too, acting as. So it'd be very nice to hear what he has to say, but we'll ask him when he gets here. I won't bother you and try to embarrass you making an assessment.
I
And
know,
he's an
I know the
interesting
guy.
character.
I have to say I was a young diplomat when he was ambassador to Bulgaria. I was chief of neighboring department when he was ambassador to Zagreb. We were together ambassadors to Belgrade. So
Yeah, you know very well. Okay. Well, look.
we have some history
Yeah.
common.
Well, thank you very much for this visit. I think it's been very useful, and and we don't often anymore get people from this region because everybody thinks it's Gaza and it's Yellen or whatever. You know, that is no sooner said than done. The Balkans are on their way, and but they don't realize that there's still issues, and they're important issues, and it's always a good thing to hear from a person with a very responsible position like yourself. Before we close the meeting, let me announce the next meeting of this group because it's rather close to this subject and might be of some interest. It'll be on Wednesday, December 15th, from 2 to 3 in the 5th floor upstairs. What's a little bigger room, a lot bigger room. And there, a U.S. diplomat who we all know well here, Mitek Baduzynski, is going to talk about his book, which he made from his PhD thesis. I think it was at the University of Stanford or University of California, Berkeley, one of those. And it's on continuity and change in Yugoslav successor states. And I know when I talked to him when he was with this program, he was comparing a lot of between Croatia and Macedonia, but then of course he had to deal with the Serbs too. So it'll be interesting to hear what he says, and he's a very good speaker. So you're welcome all. It's open meeting. And now please join me in thanking Ambassador Bojinovic for an excellent talk and answering all the questions.
Thank you. And there is one evidence of the long school of diplomacy in Croatia. So there is a book of Diplomacy of the Republic of Dubrovnik, which was on that time first republic that recognized United States of America.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I think it would be a good place to study the diplomacy of Dubrovnik and Croatia. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I hope see you in Dubrovnik.